Hi and welcome back to part 2 of getting our full stack application up and running on the Heroku cloud hosting server. Now, I have refactored my code. As you might see, I have created a back folder, as in my backend, and I have a front end folder. The only thing I left was the git ignore file, so it would ignore all the node modules since this is my git folder, of course. Now, in back folder is all the code you just saw, also my node modules. I just copy pasted everything in there, and that's it. And now we're going to see what effect it will have on my current application. Again, I have not created a second one. I have my demo API from previous video, and we will actually redeploy and see what is happening. So again, my API is still running because I have not pushed anything to Heroku. I have not redeployed anything. So again, you can have a working version online and you have a broken version offline. So this is my broken version. Here, let's break it. Breaking change, subfolders for back and front. And again, this is a breaking change. This will break everything that we have, and we'll see how to fix it. Commit. This will commit. Let's see in our git graph. Again, this is in the master. I'm going to push this to the origin point. Again, I'm going to up it to the cloud, and we will see the change, or you should see the change again in your browser. As you can see, this is my current, the beginning of the demo. If I refresh now, you will see the breaking change. Now, this is the breaking change. If I want to redeploy it, hence why we have not enabled automatic deployments, I want to break it for myself. So let's see if we can open a new tab for logs. Yes. So these are my logs, and I am going to, again, it's 638 deploy branch. We have not changed anything else. Let's see. Push failed. That's already not good. Build finished. Node.js on Heroku requires a package.json at the root of the directory structure. So there is no package.json because we have a repo, a Git repo with 2 folders. I need to tell Heroku, look in the back folder and actually get that working. So let's see how we will do that. Like, look that my proc file is also in here. So important. We need to add something else. We need to add something, and I found this online together with the help of a third-year student to whom I thank for his help. This is a subdirectory for Heroku Buildback. So what does that mean? It's Chinese for me. Speak in plain English. Now, if we go to settings and we go down, we can add Buildbacks. Now, Buildbacks is the scripts that are run when the app is deployed. Now, what does it need to run? Again, Heroku Node.js is the default one. It's automatically added because it knows that it's Node.js. Now, I need to add something. Well, this is the point where you can add something that looks into subfolders. It's not as easy as I thought. Why? I think from next year on, we're going to have 2 repos, one with front and one with backend. Then we don't need to do this. Then you can just up them to Heroku easily by themselves. That's also the production way of working with it. So normally you have 1 repo per product, so you can easily push and manage those products to different servers. Now I have to do these shenanigans because we are working with 1 repo. But again, your guys are not familiar yet with Git to that level that you can juggle multiple repos. So let's keep it simple. We're going to add a build pack, and we're going to add a URL. I will place the URL, of course, in the comments below as well. The URL will be, let me check, will be this Git code. Subdir Heroku Buildback Git. Now, what does it do? It needs to be up top. It needs to be the first thing that happens. This will actually, based on a specific variable, which is a config variable, which we will have here. Let me check. It's project_path. This will say from your root directory, which folder do I need to make the main folder for this specific application? So for our case, back, add. So this will now look in my root folder. Again, this is my root folder, back, and I will copy what that small program from this guy will do is take that folder, strip everything else, and just deploy this folder. And then run through the rest of the build pack as in the Node.js application. Now, we have it, and then afterwards Node.js, the only thing that will be left after this is run is the back folder. Node.js, let's go. We're going to deploy. And again, something can go wrong, but we will see. Deploy branch. Resolving node, installing binaries, downloading and installing node modules, dependencies, the same things we just saw from the first build. So again, we're gonna run with this. Build succeeded, very good. And then I wanna see that big, beautiful button that says view your application. I'm gonna view my application. And I hope that it's back. Yes. So my API is up and running again. And if I go to /API/boardgames, again, a good test to see if my connection with Mongo also works. It works. Perfect. My API is done. Again, we're going to run through the same process for our front end. My API is now up and running in the sense that if I make changes and I want to push things to Git, just do a new deploy and it will only take this folder. What do I have in my front end? Very simple. I have an index.html, just the same HTML you just saw, but this will be your website, your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript. This will be your main website. Now, of course, what is going to have to change is that your fetches to, at the moment, probably were localhost 3000, something like that, /API/something. You need to change that URL to the API that is live in Heroku. So as you can see, this is an old test from me in the sense that this is going to be the URL. So again, work with a config file so you can load those in so you don't have to change them all over your application. As you can see, demo.api web2 Heroku app /API board games. It's a fetch request. It's the same thing you did with the time wasted app. So I changed this. What this page is simply going to do is going to show the HTML, and I'm going to show you how to get your data from the database through your API that is deployed on the cloud environment. All right, let's go through it. Again, this also needs a proc file. This needs one other thing, HTTP server. I will explain in a second why that is. Again, create in the front folder a proc file, HTTP server, and make this folder also NPM compatible. So open this in terminal. If you don't have any NPM files in here yet, don't worry, just do npm init-y for default or without dash and fill in the names. That will create the package.json. And just make sure you install the dependency HTTP server. I will again explain to you in a second. So in your front folder, npm init-y, you have your package.json. Afterwards, npm install HTTP server. That's it. Once you have that, you should have something similar to me, as in you have a couple of HTML files, you have probably CSS. I don't have CSS for now. I have an image, I have a JavaScript file combined to that to that HTML, as you can see here. Nothing special. Again, you push that to the Git repository and we will create a new app. I uploaded the URL, so we are going to begin demo 2, updated URL. Capital B, of course, staged, commit. Again, in a more productive environment, you would have 2 different repos for the front end and back end. But we are now stuck with the one, so let's continue with it. We have this. We are now going to go back to Heroku. to personal, to your personal site, and we are going to create a new app. Again, just the same. Again, what did we call the previous one? Demo API Web 2. Okay, then I'm going to create demo frontend Web 2. I'm going to again take Europe, create my app. I am going to again GitHub add the same repo we just did. Does it do Elasticsearch? Course project Mike, course project for you guys, connect. Perfect. Now, of course, this will also break because it's going to try to do the root deployment again. This will not work. So we will go to settings, and again, for the same thing as before, we will add a buildback here, Node.js, same one, because we're gonna have to run that HTTP server. And do I still have that URL? Nope. The same URL as before, the subdirectory. But again, what do we configure now? We configure project path front, and it's going to take our front folder because this is the front end app, of course. Good. Now let's see if that works, and then I can explain to you what is actually happening. Master. Let's deploy. Downloading and installing Node, dependencies. Now, what kind of dependencies do we need? Because it actually, like, it's my front-end side. Well, remember that we added npm init and npm install HTTP server. So what we're actually doing, let's go. It opens up. What we're actually doing, and now you can see my beautiful icons, is that we are running an HTTP server on this Heroku app. What is HTTP server? Again, serving up static files like they were turtles strapped to rockets. A command line HTTP server. So again, basically, if you do this, right mouse button live server, you, like, Visual Studio Code opens up with the live server plugin, opens up a dummy web server that hosts that website. If you go to any XAMPP, any UMPS, any other program that hosts a web server, you need to place your website somewhere to host your web server, okay? This is what HTTP server does. So that's why we need the npm, the HTTP server package. That's why we need the proc file that just say, hey, when you launch this on Heroku, just run HTTP server, that's all. And once we are in here and we deploy, what it does is get everything, launch the HTTP server, which is very bare bones, very minimalistic, it's very stable, and that is just gonna serve up the index.html in that folder. Of course, you need to have your file called index.html, and then if you have navigation, make sure your links are correct. But that's about it. So now I have, and this is cool, this is the, as you can see, demo frontend web 2. This is my frontend web application. If I have demo API, this is my backend web application. Now, I get a lot of questions. How do I connect the backend and the frontend? There is no connection. Imagine this being a phone call. Like, I am calling to someone to get his information. I am calling my wife to say, what is your favorite board game? I don't know why that analogy, because board game and telephone. But again, I need to call my wife to know what her favorite board game is. I have two options. I can just open the dial, and then somewhere in the day, and then I have an open connection to her on the phone. We're going to have a large phone bill. And somewhere during the day, I'm just going to do this. What's your favorite board game? And then she will respond, I don't know, chess. And then I have that info. But I don't need to have that phone call open constantly. There is no connection to be needed. What if I want that info, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call my wife. I'm going to say, the moment she picks up, what's your favorite board game? She's going to say chess. I'm going to say thank you. And I'm going to put the phone down. So you only make connection when you need data. There is no constant connection between the front end and the back end. They are two separate entities. again, example here. I'm gonna press F12, my console. What do you see here? The 4 board games. Again, when do I get those? Is when I launch this index.html, I launch the script. And if you see that script, this is a very basic demo that we've seen probably 3 or 4 times by now. When the window is loaded, I am running this function, await get data. So I am waiting until the function is done. Of course, I'm running this. I'm waiting until this function is done, and then I'm logging it in the console. What is this function doing? Again, the basic fetch mentality. I am awaiting. You know what? I'm gonna make it even more smaller. Let me just filter out this. Voila. So I am awaiting the fetch call. So I am calling to the API. So again, the phone call. I am basically here dialing the phone to my wife to ask her for info. And then she is gonna say, chess. That's gonna come in a very weird way. Again, digital signal. And I am going to translate that. It's gonna come out of my phone as voice. Like I'm gonna understand her as in chess and not beep, boop, boop, beep, boop. Basically, it's a very weird analogy. But again, that's what the JSON is. The JSON transforms the data that comes in to something readable, which is our JavaScript object notation. Okay, so that comes in and I log that. That's it. There is no other connection present between the front end and the backend. My backend has a connection to Mongo. Again, where does this go? API board games. If we go to our backend, explained this a couple of times already. Let me check. Our router, board games, get a get request to board games. I am going to open the collection because I already have a Mongo connection running. See my previous Mongo demo. Collection board games, come into the variable. That variable, I'm going to do a find, again, Mongo stuff, and I'm going to return the result. So it's also just going to get the data from the database, put it into a JSON, and fire it back again to the front end. And that's the only connection that you have. I hope that cleared things up and that you can now upload your data to Heroku and get up and running. Again, this is also a great tool for your personal projects. If you have an API that you need to be constantly available, run it through Heroku. Now, next year, for those who are in the web cluster, and again, for those who chose backend, even next semester, we are going to go more into how servers work, on how to set up our own server and not rely on free cloud hosting, which it's still fine, of course, but we want some more things to play with, some more power in our own hands. All right, I thank you for your attention for this lecture, and I hope you're good to go to try this on your own for your course assignment. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.